Hello and welcome to One Storyteller. We're reading Return of the King, Chapter 5, The Bride of the Rohirrim. It's awful. Andrew thinks it's great.
Yep.
Apparently, we're going to talk about this and somehow come to a middle position. Go ahead. Why don't you start by telling me why you think it's great?
Oh, I wonder if that's what your problem is. Okay, we'll see.
Probably.
All right.
That and more, probably.
Okay.
It's
Well, anyway, I think it's great. It's another one of those setting things up chapters, but you need those from time to time, right?
maybe.
We see, all right, hold your horses here.
That is
A
what they
couple of
did.
things, yeah, right. A couple of things I like here are Theoden doubling down on optimism. Um, there's not a whole lot of Mary in this chapter, even though it's technically from his perspective. There is, I like Hanbury Khan a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I want to talk about this a little bit um, when we get to it, but I think what Tolkien, I'll just keep it vague for now, I guess. I think what Tolkien does with that character is very interesting. And of course, the
That's
end
one
of
way
this
to say it.
chapter, the end of this chapter is absolutely phenomenal. It is so beautiful.
This is one of those chapters where the first part broke so many things that I just started mocking all the rest of it, and the other half of my notes are like, oh, that was a dumb thing that was said.
Oh, very good.
Yep. Yep. It's painful. It hurts.
Okay. Well, terrible.
It's bad. So we're already coming into it from a position that I don't particularly like, which is we had
Uh,
the last two sentences of the last chapter were like Rohan's here, and then we had to jump back and flash back right as it was getting interesting to the point where Rohan or how Rohan got there. This is the story of how Rohan managed to get to Minas Tirith. And the answer basically boils down to random chance. And they got there. That was it.
I
Is that wrong?
yes, it's
Oh.
entirely wrong.
Oh.
Actually,
Really?
I can see why you say that, and I can see why it's frustrating. But
You will have to explain all of how this works to me because it does not seem like anything other than, hey, they just happened to get through it.
yeah,
We'll get there in time. It's only 10 pages long of a chapter, but so many things just don't work for me. At least right now.
okay,
We'll see if that changes.
understand.
We pick up with
No problem.
Mary. He's on the road to Minas Tirith. This is 4 days into their journey on what's supposed to be like a 5-day journey, or 5 or 6. Um, and we get a little bit of detail about how he's being mostly ignored by the Rohirrim, which is mostly a good thing because he's not supposed to be there. And so instead of making a big deal about it, they're leaving him alone. Um, at the same time, he's kind of lonely because nobody's talking to him. But also,
Mhm.
you can't really have people talking to you when you're not supposed to be there. So
Yeah,
he's kind of
the
caused his own problem.
yeah, he's having doubts, which makes sense when you're sleeping on roots and riding through darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I choose to come here? But he thinks about his friends, and especially of Pippin. That gives him courage to keep pushing through.
Willing to go on, even though, from a logical perspective, this is not going to go well.
Yeah, and he's going to, by the end of this chapter, realize what Theoden said was true. Like, what in the world are you going to do on a horse, man?
Yep. Understandable. Oh,
This is the thing I thought frustrated you, but we'll see. Is there's the insinuation and sort of a, I hesitate to call it an explanation because there's so much that's not explained. With a Elfhelm, the marshal knows Mary is there, right?
mm-hmm.
And we're not given specifics, but I think the fact that Elfhelm seems to be complicit with Eowyn, like hiding along here, answers a lot of other questions, like what's going on back in Rohan. Well, Elfhelm probably has some people, like, or somebody there who's able to keep things, led and organized.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, but
okay, interesting.
That can make sense. Yeah, it's clear that Durnhelm, alleged, and Elfhelm, great names by the way. If you have the freedom to invent any name you want to, why do you have to invent two helm names right next to each other? Oh well.
It's a classic Saxon sort of name.
Yeah,
they like helmets, Reagan.
I guess so, but like, why? Anyway,
there's even a guy in Rohan named Helm.
Well, yeah, but he was cool. So I get that, but like,
I gotcha.
What, like Elf
it's
Din?
A lot.
They also like Din as a last as a whatever it's called on the end of words.
Suffix.
Yes, that one. It would work out anyway. That's a minor issue, but while I'm nitpicking everything, may as well bring it up.
Hey, go for it.
Yes, it's clear that Elfhelm is very aware of Eowyn's presence being there, and thus of Mary's presence being there, and he's cool with it for whatever reason. Understandable. Different people are chill with different things. No, the problem with this chapter is that the road is blocked. So
yeah, and we had a mention of that in the last chapter.
Yes, there were these there were basically a bunch of dwarves that came out on the road and then camped out.
Easterlings, yeah.
Short, bearded, axes, stout, built like dwarves. It's above ground dwarves. It's like trader dwarves, like the hobbits who don't live in hobbit holes in the in whichever area of the Shire that is. So you have this big group camped out on the road. Question from the last chapter was, how will Rohan get through if the road is blocked? Oh, they can't get through. And evidently at the end of the chapter they did get through. So this chapter is meant to display how they got through. And the answer is they just kind of went around it because random chance.
Yeah, I feel like that is a gross mischaracterization on multiple levels. It's, to your point, the Rohirrim would have been lost here by their own agency, right?
Yes.
But they don't just happen to find a way around. There's other people who decide to help them.
Yes, there are. And it doesn't make sense for them to do so. But
really,
I don't think so. That's what I was kind of, when you were sitting in silence.
Most of the chapter is in fact them meeting up with this, frankly, he's kind of described like a Neanderthal kind of guy, like the Pukelman statues at the threshold of the paths of the dead.
Yeah,
you get the sense these are the kind of people who have been around here a lot longer than the Rohirrim have.
Yes. So the Pukelmen, they had their statues. We know that they exist, right? Because Mary made a specific point of noticing that. All the other Rohirrim just kind of rode past it, not thinking about it, because they're aware. These are like wild men, I think is what
the Woses, the wild men. Yeah.
So people who live in the hills around the area.
Yeah.
Basically, they come out, and one of them, the Gone guy, he comes out and advises Theoden and leads him through a back way, like a back alley through the
Yeah.
mountain, and then puts them out on the other side where they're at Rohan.
So I dropped my notes.
Shame. Yeah, you might need them. So he brings them out, and then at the end of following the Pukelman path, basically Rohan is right out near the Pelennor fields, and then they're able to go from there and actually meet up with Gondor and do some things at the end of the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Problem being, why? Explain the Pukelmen to me. Like, what are they doing? Because I think I understood it, but clearly I didn't. Or clearly
Okay.
I'm missing something. Or maybe it's just bad.
Maybe, well, probably not that
I'm
last
going to
one. I
assume
feel
I'm
pretty
missing
confident about that.
something. But I would
Yeah.
like to know.
I mean, it's not like there's any secret information anywhere else. Like I'm just operating on.
Yeah.
Well, I might be taking something for granted. I don't think so. But I think the information, like, there's enough here in this chapter. Han Burihan says that the Wildmen hate the orcs and Sauron's darkness.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about this more in a bit. Things aren't always great between them and the Rohirrim or even the men of Gondor.
Yep.
But they have the pragmatic wisdom to recognize things would be much worse if Sauron destroys Minas Tirith.
Mm-hmm.
And they can also recognize, hey, these horsemen here are going to help Minas Tirith, and they could make a big difference, so we'd like to help them. And their strength isn't going to be in running out on a battlefield. But they do know, and I think this is an interesting point. While Gondor and Rohan have forgotten old Númenorian roads in this region, the Wildmen still know them and use them. And so they're kind of keepers of these paths that the men of the West and that Sauron are unaware of.
Yes.
So saying it's random chance they make it through, I disagree with on multiple levels. One thing is Providence is always a big part of the Lord of the Rings, which it is a bit pedantic to bring that up, but I think that's different. And it's not just the meeting with Han Burihan. There's several mentions of the wind changing here. That'll be important in the next chapter. And also, it's not random chance because the wild men are actively choosing to help Rohan and Theoden.
Counterpoints.
Sure.
It's awfully convenient that they live in this very relevant area.
You can't deny that. It's very convenient.
It's awfully convenient that they're not interested in fighting the local threats to them and instead are focused on Gondor, which is 7+ leagues away. There are a bunch of men with axes out on the roads. I can't imagine they have left the hills untouched, and yet it kind of just gets hand-waved away. We can't help you clear the road because we're not fighters, we're hunters, is what he says. But then, why bother clearing the road? We're just not gonna do that. We go fight those guys over there instead of actually clearing out the threat to us. That seems to be the initial thing that disturbed them, if I understood that correctly.
No, I don't think so. Like, you get the sense that Han Burihan has a very big picture perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I guess what I was saying earlier, he even says, like, if the stone city falls, I'm missing an exact quote here, but
well, that specific line is spoken by Eomer, not by
yeah.
This Gone guy.
Yeah. But he recognizes if Gondor falls, everything's going to be terrible. And so I think he shares Theoden's explanation later. What does it matter if we leave this host behind us? If we win, that this force of Easterlings will be entirely cut off. If we lose, doesn't matter. Like this local army is not that big in the grand scheme of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Incredibly convenient that they're in this place.
True.
Incredibly convenient that they're aware of what's happening in Minas Tirith. If it's 7 leagues away, I don't know why they have scouts out there who are aware of the situation, aware enough to bring back news
the
to
first
them.
explanation could feed into the second there.
That what? I don't. How do those two fit together?
If they are trying to have a broader perspective, then you would have scouts going further to keep an eye on Minas Tirith.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess if it's dark, then sure, you'd be looking around. Maybe that works. They volunteer their help. It's literally just because they hate orcs.
Yeah.
Okay, seems like a solid explanation for the existence of an entire group of people. They happen to know old ways through the mountains. That makes sense. That's where they live. They just kind of disappear because they smelled salt water.
Oh. Well, no. He just doesn't have. He gives one last prescient comment to Theoden, and then he has no civil customs they would recognize. So they're done talking, so he leaves.
And that's it. He just leaves.
Yes, as far as painting a broad scope of what happened, that's true.
Yeah. So what has happened is there happened to be a path through the hills that happened to be wide enough for horsemen to be able to take it.
Mm-hmm.
There happened to be a guy who knew about the path, who was there present with them. He happened to be aware of the orcs that were at Minas Tirith, and also the orcs that are on the road with all the Easterlings, but ignores that one because the bigger threat is Minas Tirith. He is aware that Theoden is heading to Minas Tirith, and aware enough to warn him about the road, and aware enough to bring him through the hills so that Theoden can go solve the Minas Tirith problem. And all of this happens because I guess they just live in the hills. So from a story perspective, what we have is random chance. I mean, there's nothing setting up that these guys live in the hills. There's nothing setting up that there are wild men. There are statues.
Except you could say the statues back then, but sure. But it's kind of out of left field. I agree.
Yeah, but also, I mean, the statues were, hey, there are these weird statues, and everybody in Rohan's used to them. So it seems like this ancient legend, but they just so happen to live in this very relevant patch of hills, and they happen to be a very friendly group of people who, one of the reasons for letting Rohan through to go kill the orcs is, hey, don't hunt us down anymore.
Yeah.
But we've heard no mention of Rohan ever doing that.
Sure.
And so there is no reason to believe that there are people who live in the hills, and yet the solution to the problem established last chapter is there's this group of people that just lives there, and they're helpful.
Yeah.
And they get you where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So
I see what you're saying.
Providence is a really nice name, I guess.
Well, this
It's
isn't the
fair.
first time Tolkien has pulled stuff like this, you know?
No. And it's not the first time I've complained about it,
Yeah.
because
So
this is
to your list of conveniences, I would push back against all but one of them.
okay.
The fact that there's people here, Tolkien likes people in comparison to orcs. Okay.
That's true. Yeah.
So, and if he's going to have people in the location, we've seen random people you meet on the road, like Galadriels or Faramir's of the world, are going to be in the know and help you out.
Mhm.
And so this fits into that pattern, even that Elrond said all the way back in the Fellowship of the Ring, is you'll meet help in unlooked for places. And as part of that going away prophecy. And if you have people who care about the larger picture, like the Faramir's and Galadriels and Hanbury Hans of the world, then everything else that you said was convenient, I think naturally goes along with that. They'll watch the road. They'll see the Rohirrim coming. They'll be keeping tabs on Minas Tirith. All that to say, I agree. It's convenient. There's people here. But I think it's worth it, even though it might seem a little hand-wavy convenient. Yeah.
I mean, it's incredibly convenient. Yeah. I mean,
It
solve this problem by having the Easterlings arrive 6 hours later, and then they won't have had time to dig ditches to stop the riders, and the riders have to fight through it, but they can just get through it. Solve the problem by having the Easterlings not be quite as organized, or solve the problem by having there be a path through the hills that Rohan is aware of because it's their land, and because what's his name? Elfhelm even says, "Yeah, I've ridden this way before. I've gone here.
Yeah.
This is how the road goes." I mean,
there are definitely different explanations for how to do this.
there are so many explanations, but the one we rely on is
better.
A group of people that we don't like. We have no idea they are alive, and then they just kind of show up and happen to be the magic ticket out of it.
Yeah,
it really is irritating to me when a book or a story sets up a big conflict, such as, hey, the road is blocked off, and then the answer is, well, we're just not going to address that at all and just kind of walk around it.
I can understand, but this isn't that different. I know you've sort of said you recognize that before, but this exact problem of, I use problem accommodatively, this exact problem of people appearing without explanation happened with Faramir.
Yes.
The only difference is we know to expect him because of like the movie and things like that, right? Like Hanbury Han.
With Faramir, at what point? Like when they're killing the Haradrim?
When they first appear.
So that's like their assault on the Haradrim on the road, right?
Yeah, there's like a little bit before then, but yeah, basically that moment.
Okay. Well, it different for a couple of reasons. Number one, it would make sense for them to have a strike force out on the road, and like that is actively Gondor's territory, and we know that Gondor is operating around there.
Yeah, well, based on just the contours of the map and things people have talked about before, this is at least a little beyond their borders.
Yeah. But if they had a scout force out at like Osgiliath,
it would be here, sure.
Then they could roam a little bit and then come back to their home base. So that kind of makes sense. Whereas we don't have any indication that there are people in the hills until people show up. The other thing is, Faramir doesn't show up to solve a problem for Frodo and Sam. I don't think. Actually, Faramir showing up creates a problem for Frodo and Sam.
That's fair. Yeah.
Whereas
creates a problem at first.
Yeah, because and I have to think back on it, but it was Frodo, Sam, and Gollum are just kind of chilling one day, and then Faramir shows up.
Yeah, they get captured before they have. Well, they talk first, and things look kind of dicey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
so
it's sort of like Faramir. Those are important differences. It's sort of like the Ents, although that also starts off kind of on shaky footing for a tiny bit. I don't think anyone really buys into the idea that they'll get stepped on by Treebeard.
probably not. Probably not.
Yeah, but
But Treebeard and Faramir introduce something new into the equation, which is something that the heroes had not calculated for, and then the
yeah,
heroes have to work within that operation. Whereas you have that same kind of thing. A chance encounter is the
yeah,
Easterlings showing up on the road. That's something the Rohirrim hadn't accounted for. And the answer to that is another chance encounter with this Han guy who then leads them through the mountains. And so
yeah.
it's it's a Deus ex machina to fix a Deus ex problema.
Sure.
Whereas Faramir is a Deus ex problema, I guess, is how I would express that. So
Yeah, I can see that. I might disagree on
yeah,
some things, but I think that's basically fair. What it boils down to here, there are different explanations,
yeah,
and the movie doesn't suffer too much from cutting this out,
no,
right? Um, Mostly it's a problem with pacing, but there's different, like you said, there's different explanations for how Rohan could have dealt with foes on the road here.
mm-hmm.
What we have to determine is what's Tolkien saying here, and is it worth it to have people crop out without too much foreshadowing?
Yeah.
I think it is. Um,
Why?
mhm.
What do you think Tolkien is saying here with his use of these guys?
Yeah. In addition, I'm a sucker for patterns. There are
Mm-hmm.
some differences, as we said, but this fits into the find a random friend in a forest pattern. Galadriel only loosely fits into that pattern because Aragorn was expecting her there.
Mm-hmm.
But Treebeard and Faramir, and now, and granted to a lesser extent, Hanbury Han is not near as developed as Treebeard, certainly, and definitely not as much as Faramir. But he's continuing that theme. And also, a big part of Lord of the Rings is Sauron doesn't expect to be destroyed by a little hobbit, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
these people he's entirely written off. And the wild men are people that the enemy has written off, right? But the good guys have always, like, they're accepting of the hobbits, right? Like, Sauron ignores them. Our heroes are pro-hobbit. I think this is interesting because it adds like a helpful twist to consider is what if there were people that Sauron had written off? Sauron's not thinking about the wild men. He doesn't fear them at all.
Yeah.
And the Rohirrim aren't thinking about them either. But the difference is Theoden's willing to listen and humbly get help from someone he might think is inferior to him. I think that's something we hadn't seen as such in the story in any of the books. I think that's really an interesting idea that Tolkien is putting forward to us here in this chapter.
I guess that kind of fits with Merry, right? He's willing to, well, at least with Merry, he's willing to entertain the lesser people, whereas here he's
Yeah.
willing to rely on the lesser people.
Yeah, it's in line with the lessons Theoden has let himself learn. Yeah.
Fair enough. Proposed solution to fix all of this.
Okay.
When Theoden is planning his approach, have Elfhelm, who's traveled these lands before, which we already have, right? Have Elfhelm say, do you think the wild men of the hills are going to be a problem? And have Theoden say, I don't know. I hope they can, can see the bigger perspective, because Han already says, "You guys hunt us. Please don't hunt us anymore," which we had no idea about from previously.
Yeah, this is the first time we have that mentioned. Granted,
we have no idea that they live in these hills because that hasn't been mentioned before. But we do know that Elfhelm has been here because we do have that mentioned, and he knows how the road goes. And so if you have one line earlier that says, hey, these guys might be a problem,
It
But
could just be
then,
like 2 paragraphs, honestly, right?
yeah, I mean, even just 2 sentences. It's the conversation that
Yeah.
says, "Hey, we're going by this road. Oh, isn't that where the hill people are?" Well, yeah, but there are orcs, and hopefully orcs are a bigger problem, and so there's maybe a little bit of contention there. And then when they show up to the place, the Han recognizes, hey, even though Rohirrim are a problem, orcs are a bigger problem, so we'll actually let you pass through our lands
Yeah.
instead of delaying, and that
I
it fits your whole paradigm thing.
yeah.
But it also lets us know there were people in the hills so that they don't just come out of nowhere to solve
Yeah.
a problem.
So the way it is doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But I
If it's
think that would actually I think that would be better, what you just proposed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had this same conversation 2 or 3 or 4 times where Tolkien
Yeah.
just does something, and I'm like, well, if you had set it up with one line earlier, then I would like it a lot more. But instead, it just is there. So yeah, I understand it's not technically random chance because the people are there,
Yeah.
but for everything we know, it's basically, it feels like when the DM has put you in an impossible situation and then is
It does
like,
feel yep,
you
that's a
know,
good comparison.
that monster's armor class is too big. Suddenly a wizard appears and snipes the bad guy, and now you
Mhm.
listen to him, which is acceptable sometimes because sometimes the DM messes up, but a
Mhm.
book is an opportunity to not mess that up.
Sure.
So
No, so yeah,
that's where
again,
I
I
am.
agree. If you had a couple of lines or whatever like you're proposing, that would probably be better.
Yeah.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah.
Um I think though a book's trying to be more like real life than a game of Dungeons and Dragons. And
True.
in real life, sometimes people do randomly pop out of the woodwork to help you out
True.
or to be a problem.
Yeah.
But people do just randomly pop out sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Arguably, that's probably, should have a conversation at some point about like stories and what makes them a story, because a story where stuff just happens isn't any good.
well, right.
Right.
Yeah.
And part of your love for Pelennor Fields is everything has been set up
Yeah.
for it to then be executed in the next chapter. And so while yes, there is merit to the real life approach, if every story had the real life approach, or if the story was the real life approach, then it would be kind of
Mhm.
terrible because
Right.
there's not really any structure there and you don't have anything to look forward
No,
to.
I agree
Um,
completely. The reason I can tolerate and accept and forgive or whatever Tolkien for things like this is because he usually doesn't do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is striking in the 2 or 3 instances where this has happened. I'm just like, what?
Mhm.
Why? But
Yeah.
it
And
is
though I
rare.
think it
One per
works,
book, I think.
even though I think it works, I think some of what you're insinuating is probably true. Is that Tolkien probably got to this point and dropped them in the story?
Mhm. Yeah.
I think that's probably the case.
Yeah. And sometimes if it's in your head that these guys exist, sometimes you don't even think to tell other people that these guys exist. And
Mhm.
when you introduce them, it's not the time for the lore drop of, well, now these guys had been living in the hills for centuries, and
Yeah, and
Rohan had
that would
eventually,
frustrate you
that would,
more.
that would be awful. So neither of them is good. It's just when you put them in, you have to have that cognizance to then go back and edit them in earlier on to make sure that this isn't just coming out of nowhere. But
Yeah,
I mean, I don't have that cognizance when I'm writing stuff, so I understand why that slips through. Not the
yeah,
hugest deal at the end of things, because I mean, at the end of the day, we know Rohan's going to get through.
yeah,
We just don't know how. Um, it if it was easier just to say the orcs didn't make it to the blockade in time and Rohan got through before it got knocked over.
yeah.
It's also easy enough to explain why these guys exist, but
Sure enough.
whatever.
Yeah.
They do just kind of up and leave when he sniffs the wind, and then
Oh yeah. Okay, I have a bit before we get to that
okay,
part.
okay, by all means.
Yeah. So Tolkien died like 60 years ago. Okay, so he
wild.
lived a long time ago,
Mhm.
and he lived in a lot of different places, and kind of at the end of Britain, like tying up all its colonial enterprises, with Britain exposing themselves to lots of different kinds of people and cultures within a very short period of time. And I think it's stupid and not very helpful to say, well, everyone back then was racist. That's not very helpful to say. But some people were, just like some people are today, probably more people back then. So I think this chapter is interesting in light, or thinking about that idea. As Tolkien makes these wild men who are described and talk in like the most blatantly primitive ways possible.
Yeah.
And then he has Aemir and other people make assumptions that are proven wrong. Like, how do you know how many people there are? And Hanbri basically says, because I can count. The Rohirrim aren't as in touch with the history of the West as these wild men are.
Yeah.
The wild men have stories about the Numenorians coming out of the sea and building Minas Tirith. They know that happened. While even Gondor has forgotten its old roads that came through this in-between country between Rohan and Gondor, the wild men remember these roads. And they also are the bigger people. Tolkien doesn't make a big deal about it, but it's striking, right? The noble Rohirrim, some of them will hunt these people like animals. But the wild men are the bigger people. They say, we're not going to kill you for killing our people. We'd like you to kill the orcs.
Yeah.
I think that's striking. Like I already said, it's like the overlooked people has been a theme in Lord of the Rings. But this is like one of the most clear. What am I trying to say? Like you could pretty clearly apply this to various modern or almost modern, like not too long ago, kinds of prejudices.
It's like the Scottish people helping the English to beat up the French.
Yeah, something like that.
Unrefined hill people help the Anglo-Saxons to destroy the evil enemy. What can I say? We hate French people here. We as
That's the lesson
accommodative.
we're
It's
trying
just
to drive at. Yeah.
Hey, they got a pretentious accent. I don't like it. Yes. So it is nice from the theming. I can't exactly get around the trappings to appreciate the theming, but it's nice from the theming.
Yeah, it's worth trying to do that, I think.
Oh, probably. My mind just doesn't like doing that. So, on the other side of things, they get out on the hills. There are basically two issues that happen. Number one, Gondor spent a lot of time building up this wall around Pelennor to keep the orcs out.
The Ramas.
And that's not going to be helpful when you're trying to do a cavalry charge.
Yes.
So, what can we do about that? Second thing is there's a big orc army that's besieging Minas Tirith. What can we do about that? Solutions are the orcs already came through, so they've knocked most of the wall down. So that's not going to get in the way.
Checks out.
The enemy has there is a big emphasis in this chapter that the enemy has so underestimated anything coming behind him. Like Sauron thinks he has every plot covered. And so he really doesn't care to leave that much of a rear guard or for the orcs to look behind them at all.
It's like, I've already plugged that gap in the road with this big army. We're good.
Yeah. Why waste resources back there when I need it up front? And so the Rohirrim actually get out onto the Pelennor field relatively unseen and unheard, and the orcs aren't even noticing anything. They did at some point find the Gondorian guy who had the red arrow.
Yeah,
Well, he had the red arrow. He didn't have his head anymore, but that's just what happens sometimes.
it's rough.
Unfortunate. He did not quite make it back to Minas Tirith before the orcs got there, and so that is part of the reason why Denethor was so stressed out and mad last chapter. Is he never knew that Rohan was coming. He was convinced they had abandoned
Yeah.
Gondor because he never heard back because the orcs got there too quickly and
That's
beheaded
why
the
it's
messenger.
important to return calls. As
Okay,
much as depends on
understand.
you, right? Okay.
All of my friends who never answer my text messages. I always answer, but none of them do.
Well, good for you.
Oh well, Matt, you know who you are. So they rest in the afternoon, and then that evening, under the cover of darkness, which has actually aided Rohan's approach, Rohan approaches. This is the night of the siege of Minas Tirith, and so everything in Minas Tirith is on fire, and the orcs are currently breaking down the gates. Is how I understood it when Rohan is lining up.
Yeah, it's that's when they literally finish lining up right when Grond is finishing battering the gate.
Yeah. Um, a, a random Rohan guy
Oh, this
shows
is
up.
great. This is great.
Then you explain it. I'm not.
Widfara.
Yeah, you explain it then.
So
Mine's sarcastic.
yeah, come on, man. So we already saw that Han Brihan can tell something. So he doesn't have just all these more what am I trying to say? Like tactile connections to wisdom, but he also is in touch with the West by being able to sense the movements of providence. Sauron has cast this darkness over the land, right? We're going to see in the Pelennor Fields, first paragraph of the next page is the Witch King being like, "Oh no, the darkness is breaking sooner than Sauron intended." It's like, well, who has a greater power than Sauron? Well, the forces in the West do. So Hanburi Han can tell this providential change is happening. But the Rohirrim have this prophet, basically. He says, Widfar is my name. The air brings me messages. Already the wind is turning.
Mm-hmm.
Above the reek, above this darkness, it will be dawn when you pass the wall. His has a simple prophecy. He's like a folk prophet. He says, Theoden, if you have the courage to keep going in the darkness, you will find the dawn, which is just amazing. Is it sort of random? Yes. Is it unapologetically Saxon and amazing? Yes.
I feel like that's the one serious note I have on the rest of this is this feels like an ancient battle poem. It feels like it's not really real. It feels like he's inventing a bunch of things, and that's just how Rohan would have retold it, more so than the
Interesting.
strict literality. Because several of these things, basic summary is there's is several different things. It looks like there's a lightning storm, or at least there's a flash of lightning.
Yeah, that's from the Witch King's spell.
Okay, that's what that was. So, and that's what enlivens Theoden to go out to the fight. Theoden says a phrase so loud his entire 6,000 people can hear it, and it is clearer than any man has ever spoken, which is just not true, and that's not how voice works. But okay. Theoden blows a horn so loud that it breaks, which is not how horns work.
No.
But okay. Theoden, very Fey of Theoden, by the way. It's like Tolkien learned a new word because every chapter he just kind of puts it in there. He's like,
it's fitting for a lot of events happening around here.
Yes, I just like to imagine him as like a child who has figured out one word and they
there
just shove
ain't
it
no
wherever
way
it
he
goes.
just discovered that word.
No, he's much too wise for that. Then the charge of Rohan, I'm sure there's an explanation for this, and yes, I looking ahead at the first paragraph of the next chapter. Yes, the darkness is apparently breaking, but I don't know why that is. There's an indication like Theoden's shield is shining like the sun, which doesn't really make sense unless the darkness is breaking and the sun is shining on it and it's reflecting that. But
yeah, well, that's even described here in this chapter.
Yeah,
that dawn is breaking.
Yeah, but he's riding into battle with basically like super powered armor, and no one can catch up to him because Éomer is at the front, but he's not front enough, and all these different things. It's very mythic in its.
It is.
Approach.
Oh yes, it is.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
That's basically all I have. They just kind
of. I have to zoom in and say some more.
Yes, I know you will. That's why I can read so generally, because I know that you're going to call out the specific phrases. I don't have to write them down.
Yeah, I love this. You have the foretelling dawn will come, though the night be dark. And there's so many things. Let me just go one at a time here. After they destroy the orcs at the Ramus, Tolkien reminds the people, hey, you're going to fight on an alien field, but you've taken oaths. And so you've doubled down to fight. Tolkien's pragmatic. He has several Eoreds, which are these different forces of however many riders in each one. He says, you go that way, I'll go this way. We can't make more plans than that. We'll just go for it. And they all pull up in the dark. It's very visually powerful to imagine. Because you imagine the riders coming up here in the darkness with the lower levels of the city burning, all these fiery trenches, the huge host of the besieging army. And then Tolkien doubles down on how scary it is, right? It's all very dark. You can smell the death and the fire. Horses are uneasy. And then, even after reminding the people they need to fulfill their oaths, Theoden has this very serious moment of doubt. The king sits motionless. Well, how does he say this? The king sat upon Snowmane, motionless, gazing upon the agony of Minas Tirith as if stricken suddenly by anguish or by dread. He seemed to shrink down, cowed by age. Murray himself felt as if a great weight of horror and doubt had settled upon him. His heart beat slowly. Time seemed poised in uncertainty. They were too late. Too late was worse than never. Perhaps Theoden would quail, bow his old head, turn, slink away to hide in the hills. Theoden, in this moment, looks a lot like he did when we first found him in his throne room. The reality of his age. Theoden has a lot of horsemen, but what's he really going to be able to do here in the darkness against all these evil armies? And then two things happen. One is a providential intercession. Theoden is weak. Who knows what he would have done if the dawn hadn't come? But because of the forces of the West, dawn does come. And that's one of the things that gives Theoden strength. Other thing is just that, what is it, like a primal reaction to a big noise that kind of wakes you up, which is just very real. Oh, the gate's broken. I said I'd help. I should do that. So there's both those things happening at this moment that pushes Theoden over the edge to do what he came to do. And the whole part here just is so beautiful. Theoden outpacing his knights and doing all these heroic things, which maybe Frodo is embellishing events. The other thing is it could be a cascade of providence. Theoden has taken himself as far as he can, and having done that, he's empowered to do more than he ever thought he could. He's old, but he's outpacing his knights. He's like the only guy in the book compared to one of the gods of the West, Orome the Great. He's one of the he's like the mounted hunter Valar, and it's just random old Theoden who's compared to this amazing horseman. Other thing here, as Theoden is charging down with the golden shield upon his white horse on the green grass, he looks just like the banner in the Hall of Meduseld. Eorl the Young. He was the founder of Rohan. That's Theoden. Once Gandalf heals him, Theoden says, "How am I ever going to live up to my forefathers?" And Gandalf says, "Just do the best you can." And though he's had moments of doubt, Theoden has kept plodding along like that. And now look at him. Just doing the next best thing in front of him leads him to being used to save Minas Tirith in the West. And to lead, when he's leading other people to do the same, right?
Yeah.
And the dawn breaks as he does this courageous charge. And the plans of Sauron begin to come undone. So the ending is amazing.
It's a good last 3 pages.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
It's very Fey of him to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good on him. So next time, a better chapter, entirely. And
we'll see what you think about it.
We will. Also kind of short.
Yeah.
13 pages, but better than Bilbo's 2 paragraphs and then cut off and skips the whole battle. Tolkien didn't know how to write battles back then, I guess. So let's see. What all do we have coming up? Because we have Aragorn, who's vanished, and who knows where he and his friends are at. We have Pippin and Gandalf, who are in the city, currently facing the Witch King. That's about to change. But then they have the whole Denethor situation to deal with. We have all of Rohan with Mary right there, and Eowyn's whole thing
there
as
too,
well, because she snuck in the army. We have everything Theoden said about how he's probably going to die at this point. We have, everything Sauron wants is wrapped up in this, and as such, he is incredibly distracted by that, which means he's not paying much attention to whatever is happening in Shelob's lair right around now, right the day before, or whatever it is. So it is very much that everything in the story is kind of orbiting around this one little event.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll also bring in some things from the appendices and the Silmarillion, because of course Tolkien ties some of those things in too.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I am very interested to see where that goes. Despite the silly bumps to get there, I'm just going to imagine they just went through the road normally and got there on time.
No, Reagan, no. Well, I guess you can enjoy the best part of the chapter even if you do that.
However it works, yeah. Hey, look past the silly stuff to get the good stuff, right? Or whatever that phrase was you said earlier.
Oh.
That's what we're trying to do.
I like saying plunder the Egyptians to mean that.
that also works. I'm a big fan of plundering the Egyptians. My favorite pastime. And on that note, we'll cut it here, I think.
Sure.
And Pelennor Fields next week.